I have to confess that I've been lusting after Wendy's rear end for some time now. That's right, I've been envious of the chain adjuster blocks on her Honda CB500X. They're lovely billet aluminium jobbies. The ones on my Honda NC750X are just plain, boring looking, pressed steel. Very crappy looking. This is clearly a major defect that I simply can't live with any longer. So I said to myself, "Self, why don't you try making some out of aluminium? How hard can it be?" So it's off with the old ones to use as a template to try to make some new ones out of aluminium. You can see here that this is just a bit of pressed steel. How pathetic. How could I possibly live with that? So it's down to the shed to measure the original one and then mark it out on some, I've only got 4mm sheet, but I'm going to weld two pieces together, so I've got 8mm thickness. So I bumble around with the calipers, scratching a line that needs to be cut out on the bandsaw. Here's a fun fact. You can use a normal hobby bandsaw to cut out aluminium. Even this 4mm thick sheet can be cut with a normal bandsaw blade. Now, is that handy or what? So after a bit of sped up cutting action, I've cut out 4 pieces. Now the pieces are cut out, they need to be cleaned up on the sander. If there's one thing you need to do with aluminium welding, and that is to make sure everything is clean. Because I want to weld 2 pieces together to make an 8mm thick piece of aluminium, I'm beveling the edges on both pieces so that I've got some weld area to weld into. You can see here I've got the 2 pieces together with the bevels on the inside. That'll give me a channel to melt weld into. So again, before I start welding, I need to clean it all, so it's time to wipe it all down with acetone. Finally, it's time to weld, but I've learnt the hard way that preparation is far more important than the actual welding task itself. So I sit and melt filler right into that gap and over the top of the 2 edges. I'm only a really rank amateur hobby welder, but I have to admit that welding aluminium really is satisfying. Here's what the edge looks like once it's welded together. Now I'll gently clean up all the edges with the flap disc to make it nice and smooth. I'm so excited about doing this little project that I move into hyperdrive. Okay, I've got the basic shape done. Now it's time to measure the inside bit, the bit that fits into the swing arm itself. This will stop the adjuster block from woggling around It'll keep it nice and firm within the swing arm itself. Ooh, a bit bitey. I better get my power gloves so that I can lift it. Now I'm scribing the insides so that I've got a guide for where I put those blocks when I've cut them out. The size of these inside blocks needs to be relatively perfect, so I take my time measuring it and make sure I get it right. I'm really getting tired of measure once and cut 4 or 5 times. I'm starting to learn, but I'm still not perfect. Okay, a bit more bandsaw action to cut out these 2 pieces. And no, I'm not going to cut through my thumb this time. While still trying to learn from past mistakes, I go and measure these inside the swing arm just to be sure that they are actually the right size. And yes, they are. What a relief! I can't weld these inserts by welding around the edges because that just won't make it fit. So I'm drilling a couple of holes, one in each end, and then over on the bandsaw I'll cut out some channels. With a channel at each end of these inserts, I can weld inside the channel and stick it on, without seriously compromising the outside edges. So here I go, filling up those channels. It's not pretty, but it's marvellous what the grinder can do. And of course, with hindsight, I realise that I didn't need to have that much weld in them. See, I told you, not pretty, but it's off to the grinder to clean it all up. That's a bit better, but it's on the inside of the swing arm, so no one's going to see it. So long as it's functional, it'll be fine. Alright, the almost last task. Drill a hole in the dead centre so that the adjuster bolt can go through. Don't forget to lubricate. Look at those lovely long swarfs. Gotta love a sharp drill bit. There we go. That doesn't look too bad. Now let's give everything a bit of a polish up before we put it back on the bike and see what it looks like. Well, I can honestly say it doesn't look like a bought one, but it does look okay. And I think once on the bike, if you're looking the other way, it'll look quite good. Especially after the aluminium oxidizes to a nice, even, satin finish. Okay, here's those crappy old originals. And now here's the nice, shiny new aluminium one. Well, that's a relief. It actually fits. I didn't show it, but I actually put a small drill hole in the bottom of the plate as well. The originals have it, and I think it's for allowing water to drain back out of the swing arm if it gets in. Well, here it is in all its glory. I won't bother showing you the other one, but I reckon that looks alright. And it was a fun little project. I now no longer need to lust after Wendy's back end. Her bike, that is. And what were the accountants thinking at Honda when they supplied a little bit of bent steel for the adjuster?